usually it comes back to sex, doesn't it?
Oh, jeez,
For most killers.
Sex or cult, some religious
Or
cult.
some sort of sex cult.
Sex cult.
Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of the Audiobook Club. I'm Stephen, and joining me as always are my two co-hosts, Michael and Johnny. Do you want to say hello, lads?
Hey.
Hi.
And this time around we have a new member joining us. We've mentioned him a few times, so I'd like to welcome Jason to the stage. Nice to have you on board.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe talk about the different kinds of books you like, or your listening/reading habits, or anything?
Not to put you on the spot right away.
We did it the first time.
My reading habits are terrible, but my listening habits have definitely gotten a bit better as of late.
Great. Cool. What's your go-to genre?
No, well, I mean, I've been really listening to everything that's been recommended on the podcast recently, but I mean, I have actually listened to all three of the Richard Osman books already.
Nice. You're the main man for any questions I've got about the sequels, then that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I could try my best.
Happy days. Again, welcome on board. So I'll move on now. So this time around, we will be talking about the Thursday Murder Club, and I'll go right into a quick summary. So the book follows 4 residents of a retirement community who are the eponymous Thursday Murder Club. They routinely meet to discuss unsolved murder cases, and their names are Elizabeth, Ibrahim, Ron and Joyce. At the start of the book, we learn that Joyce has just joined to replace founding member Penny, who now suffers with dementia. Penny was a former detective and is the source for many of the cases that the club investigates, and it is heavily implied that Joyce was some sort of spy. Shortly after the beginning, a new development is announced for the retirement village, and the lead builder ends up getting killed, and the group starts investigating this murder. Soon after, the landowner is killed as well, and the group becomes wrapped up in a mystery involving 3 murders, 1 childbirth, 2 suicides, and numerous cover-ups. And it seems that everyone, no matter who they are, or how nice they are, how pleasant they are, or how harmless they seem, have skeletons in their closet.
Did you say that Joyce is implied to have a?
I was going to say the same thing. You
Did I say Joyce?
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's Elizabeth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Correction, Elizabeth is implied to be some sort of spy. So why did I pick this book? I mean, for what it seems like years now, every time I go into a bookshop or anywhere that sells books, I would see this on the shelves, the cover and the parts of the shop where they typically advertise like new or popular books. So this had me thinking it must be amazing. And I think I read the blurb, or maybe someone was talking about it to me and understood it to be a mystery novel. And as I stated before on the podcast, that I wanted to get into reading more mystery novels, or listening to more, I should say. So to me, it seemed like a bit of a great fit. So yeah, that's why I chose it. Pretty simple. I just see it everywhere I go. Still, even after finishing it for the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing it like more and more. In fact, and the sequels as well. So they're definitely they sell well. So
Yeah, and he pumps them out like one a year. Like there's another one coming out in September, I'm pretty sure.
Is there another one? Because I thought he only just put the 3rd one out there, so that's a bit of a surprise.
Literally annually. He has only one out every year.
Fuck. A man must never stop working, hey, because he's on TV flat out as well, is he not?
Well, he left Pointless, actually.
Oh, did he?
Focus on the books.
Right.
Oh, so he's focusing on the books now full time, is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Well, did you? I don't know if you came across this on your research, but did you see like his what's it called when they offer their upfront payment again? What's the word again? Advance. Did you see his advance?
For for the new book?
It was 7 figures anyway for the initial book, so
Wow.
that's pretty unprecedented for an advance for a book.
So what did he get paid in the end? I suppose he's still getting royalties and stuff, but
yeah. So in advance, it basically the way it works is the offer gets an advance, and then the royalties basically pay off the advance, say like a debt, and then once that's paid off, then the offer starts making whatever is in addition to that.
So hold on, is this not his first book? So you're telling me he got a 7-figure advance on his
that's what I mean.
first book? What?
Yes,
The heck?
I know.
Because of who he is, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that must be unheard of, though, right? I mean,
it's almost unheard of. The only one I can find comparable to it, I'm sure there probably has been other like celebrity cases where they've got massive advances because it's been like an autobiography by like Michelle Obama or something. I'm sure she got a massive advance and stuff like that. But the only other one I've heard that's really crazy was I think Stephen King got, and I can't remember when Carrie was written. It was like the 70s or maybe the 60s possibly. But he got like 200 grand or something for Carrie, and he wasn't even a celebrity or anything at the time. He was just like a 26, 27-year-old English teacher.
that's really weird.
He got that. Yeah, it is very crazy and unprecedented to get that advance. To put it into perspective, I think J.K. Rowling's advance for Harry Potter, or J.K. Rowling, her advance for Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter was like $4 grand or something. Yes. Obviously, she made a lot more on the royalties that then obviously paid off the advance. But
yeah. Oh, do you have to pay it off?
It's like basically a loan, isn't it?
So the advance is like it's like this kind of it's this kind of thing of trust. It's buying the book with this payment of trust and the offer that's saying you're going to sell more than this in the books, so we're going to pay you with this, and then you will continue to make it off in royalties.
So it's kind of it can be like taking a risk sort of thing sometimes. Yeah,
exactly. But apparently like 90% of advance aren't paid back, but the 10% that are make up for that. So the publishing industry is very weird the way it's balanced.
Oh, so you don't have to pay it back?
No, it's not the author's responsibility. It is paid back by the book sales.
Oh, okay. That's why I said it was like a risk. So like if Richard Osman got like an advance of 7 figures or whatever and it didn't sell well, I was like, does he have to pay that back?
No, he wouldn't. That's the publisher would be out of the money.
Right. Fascinating.
But I'm sure they probably like give him like say 10 million or whatever the amount is. They'll ask for like 20 million back or something,
I think this book was actually put up in auction, and I'm not sure how common that is. So there was actually people bidding over this book.
What, like publishers, you mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's I think that's also pretty unprecedented. I don't know how common that is.
Well, that's fascinating. But let's move on anyway to the plot guest reveal. Now, I had a bit of a fun time rereading these. So, yeah, I mean, the two of them, I don't think either of them is like a million miles away, but one of them is the clear winner. So I'll just go over them again. So, Johnny, you said it's a group of people who like crime or are intrigued with murder, and they like murder so much that they end up committing murders, and that's why they meet up on Thursday.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what, right? I know that who the winner is. It's obviously Michael. But I don't think I was too far away with that.
To be honest, that's what I mean. I had a bit of a laugh reading that because it actually turns out that a former member of the Thursday Murder Club commits one of the murders.
Exactly.
No spoilers. So I mean, you were right.
Well, yeah, true.
Partly right. I mean, I wouldn't say she likes murder so much, but you know, she did do a murder. So
yeah. And it's not really the purpose of the club. She goes. Yeah.
I'll get your reasoning, but I was close.
Yeah, 100%. I think you were still close to the money. But Michael, you said it's a cozy mystery, and I think from that almost clinches the whole thing. Then you went on to say they're like true crime fans obsessed with murders. You did say no one from a crime background, so that's marks down for that.
Yeah.
But other than that, you said they get together to discuss crimes and stumble onto something and start solving a murder. So, I mean, that's bang on.
Yeah, I have to admit though that I did borrow some of my premise from like I think it's on Disney, no murders in the building or something you call it.
Oh yeah, only murders in the building.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, it's like a TV show about, I think they're podcast true crime fans or something like that.
Yeah.
And they do the same.
Is it any good?
I haven't watched it, but have you, Jason?
I watched like one episode and didn't really like it, but I know a lot of people seem to love it.
I'll give it a miss then. Okay, so jumping into a review then. So I mean, for me, I feel like super ambivalent towards the whole thing, particularly the mystery aspect. On the one hand, I did really like it. It kept me guessing every step of the way. But I couldn't help feel bogged down, pun intended, by all the detail and information we're given, which was weird for me because, as I've said many times, I love when there's like over the top details. But here, it felt like there was so much of it in such a like condensed form that it was very distracting from the mystery part, and it sort of lessened the enjoyment of the whole thing for me. And then there was a major flaw that I realised at the end of the book that I think completely ruined it for me. So I'll talk about that in the spoiler bit. I did enjoy the characters that we meet though, and I like they all seem fleshed out, and they were different and interesting in their own ways. And I like that the members of the club aren't like best mates who do everything together. They just sort of meet up and once a week or a bit more to share an interest. And I like the narrative that everybody has a secret or something dark in their past, because it makes it feel a bit more true to life sort of thing. Maybe over exaggerated in some cases, but I think you get my point. But again, there were so many characters. I didn't count, but I think I seen like a tally somewhere, and it was bananas how many characters we hear about. And there was like micro details for every single one of them, and it was just distracting, like I said. So I guess open to the floor. What's your take on that? Like, did you what do you think about the mystery aspect and the numerous characters that we were introduced to?
I completely agree with what you actually said there, Stephen. Like, I think I've brought this up for previous books. Like that, I don't really like when the book's all over the place and there's a lot going on. Like, I kind of like a straight story, so I did find it a wee bit all over the place at times. But all in all, like, I thought it was a decent book. Like, I know people have absolutely been raving about this book and the series. Like, I thought it was good, but I didn't absolutely love it or anything. But it was, it was entertaining. But yeah, I think a cozy mystery is probably the best way to describe it. Like, and I've like yourself, I've trying to like maybe get into these more crime mystery books and stuff. Obviously we've done maybe 2, I would say, on this, but we've done Slow Horses and then Rivers of London is semi kind of crime as well. And I haven't been the biggest fan of those, but I'm definitely warming up to it. And I'd say this one, was kind of another step up in terms of my enjoyment on them. So definitely getting something out of it.
Cool. And just on what you said there about the about it being all over the place, like to me at times it felt like it was almost more of like a slice of life book about old people in a retirement community than it was about a mystery,
Yeah, like I think, like, even though you probably wanted it to be more about the mystery, where it was I think if you listen to the wee Richard interview after it, he was kind of saying, it was more about the characters, like, and like their kind of relationships and all. That's what his focus was. So I guess that's what he was going for. But yeah, I think we probably would have rathered it being more on the other side.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I had expected it to be like that, I would have enjoyed it more. Does that make sense? Like, if I expected it to be a pure mystery novel, so yeah.
I had worked with like a lot of ladies who had read the book when it first came out, so I already had a very good understanding of what I was getting myself into. We old ladies chatting about Waitrose and very relatable UK things, and then occasionally talking about murder. But I mean, I enjoyed them. I wouldn't say they're groundbreaking. Like, I've obviously listened to all 3 of them, as I said, but I do find them enjoyable. I do find the first one is one of the stronger ones.
The first one's one of the stronger ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Might give him a miss then. No, I think I think I will finish the series. But yeah, I'll be not expecting what I did this time.
So Stephen, when we did the Mistborn review, you said to me that you had been dreading doing the review.
Yeah,
I feel a bit similar about this, but not because I hated the book, but because it's a very mixed bag, and I'm not sure why, and I'm trying to figure out how to express that, and that's why I've been kind of dreading talking about it. Before I started this book, I kind of read into it a wee bit. That's where I heard about the big massive advance, and I saw words like charming and enchanting and all these used about it. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a go with that kind of in mind. So I listened through to it. I thought the characters were really well developed. I thought Joyce and Elizabeth were really excellent. I thought Donna and Chris, the cops, I really enjoyed their parts. And then there were the other parts, the other POVs. They didn't really grab me that much. Anytime I changed to any characters who weren't those four, I just wasn't as engaged with the story. I did the setting, Cooper's Chase. I thought it was fine. Like it reminded me of some English villages I have been on. I've been on those kind of retirement villages, and it did bring me to that. My big issue, and so I've touched on, as I always say, the triangle of setting, character and plot. My big issue is with the other part of the triangle, which is plot. I did not think the mystery was really that interesting, to be honest. I thought at times, the history of the priest and stuff, I thought that was interesting. There was aspects to it which were good, but I was never like the way I have been with something like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, where I'm just like, I need to find out what's going on here. I need to find out what's going on next. I never felt like that with the plot. So it was definitely a mixed bag for me. I enjoyed these characters. I thought they were well developed, but ultimately I did find myself wondering, what is the hype with this book? I feel like I didn't get it.
Yeah, I think we share a lot of the same views. Like, did you think there was like an over the top amount of fluff? Like, big chunks of the book could have been cut out and it still, it would have been fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think it could have been streamlined a lot. I think another issue, I don't want to harp on about this every time we have a book with multiple POVs. I don't want to say the same thing over and over again, but it did suffer a bit from slow horses syndrome as well. I think where it was written, I think this book was written like a TV show with those quick changes of scenes and quick POV changes. And Richard Osman has written for TV, so that would make a lot of sense that he's...
Yeah, I think it was in the interview at the end where he says that, like, he's a TV writer. I didn't know that. I thought he was just like a presenter.
Yeah, I didn't know that until that as well. But when I heard that, it made a lot of sense for how this book was written. I think it was written very like a TV show. And I know that. Sorry if you guys have this as trivia,
Spielberg.
but I'm gonna bring it up here.
I know what you're going to say.
Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is looking to adapt this into a movie. I think it will work very, very well as a movie. I did not quite get the hype about the book.
Well, I mean, to skip ahead, it was announced, I think, just in March or something, the film is going to start this year.
Oh, really?
Right.
Do we have a cast?
I don't think so. Like an elderly British lady.
Get all the old British people, yeah.
Judi Dench.
Oh, fact, You could get Lesley Manville in. the narrator. She's not. She's what, like nearly 70?
Don't know, but she has the voice for it, doesn't she?
Yeah, she could be Joyce.
What age is Emma Watson these days? I'm sure she could give it a go. It's a self-deprecating joke to listeners because I happen to be the same age as Emma Watson.
Just to focus on something you said, because this is what I was going to talk about next, Michael, is the POV part. I think we've talked a few times about the POV switches and it being an issue at times, and I think it was really jarring this time around, like sort of as you hinted at, especially the parts, the Joyce chapters as I call them, where it like switches to Joyce as POV, but it's like a diary entry, so it switches from
It's first person,
to
yeah.
third person,
Yeah.
which was a bit weird, and took me out of it a bit. Now I did find funny moments in those chapters, like, you know, her musings on ASOS and Tinder and stuff like that. I thought they were quite funny, but the switch was very jarring. And I guess another thing we talked about last time was the short chapters being a problem, and I really felt it this time.
Yeah, definitely.
There were some like 2-minute chapters and stuff, and
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me at all, actually. It really doesn't bother me. Short chapter.
I don't know why it bothers me so much.
If anything, I just hate like a desperately long chapter. Let's say if I'm actually reading the book where I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to stop reading or finish a chapter. And you're like,
Yeah.
still 20 pages away.
See, I think I said last time that when it's a super long chapter, it depends who. Like if it's a POV book, it depends whose POV it is.
Yeah. But I suppose because it was my second time listening to it, I didn't really pick up on it at all. Probably because I sort of already knew the plot and knew everything, so I wasn't really like hearing it all for the first time and like getting like trying to get my ground and my bearing of like who's speaking or what's happening.
Yeah.
Don't think I had loads of issues with it the first time round.
Johnny, what's your take on the POVs? I know you have some gripes about short chapters.
No, well, I don't mind short chapters. I do the POV switching, like I've said. Michael coined a good term there, slow horses syndrome, which I like that one. But yeah, I think I don't think it was as bad as slow horses. I mean maybe it was only because it was really only Joyce's like diary entries was the main like switch. But sometimes it would be like her diary and she'd be writing about Elizabeth, and then like it would go on to the next chapter, and then it would be like Elizabeth talking, and then you kind of the switch was like it was almost like seamless and like in a bad way that like you didn't really notice. Like say if I didn't even know it was a new chapter, I might not have heard like say the new chapter coming on, so I was like, is this still the same thing or what's going on here?
Yeah.
Whereas because her point of view is probably like going to be in the past tense, whereas because it's a diary entry, she's writing the past tense, whereas then everything else happens in the present. Chapter wise, I don't mind like a short chapter. I think maybe like there was a couple like really short ones. I think there was one that was like less than a minute, and like
Wow.
like that's a bit ridiculous. I'd say like ideally I would like a kind of uniform like spread of chapter, like somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, and kind of like all the chapters are around that. Like I don't like when it's like a wee 2-minute one and that goes into like 30-minute one or something like that, you know. That would be my opinion on chapters, but I didn't think it too bad in this book. But yeah, I can see that there might have been a couple of issues with that.
I mean the problem that I had was that it's because it's like a suspenseful type story, right? It would be something like it'd be a really short chapter and something will be revealed and you'd be like but then it would switch and go to somebody completely different who's not even like around. So like, you know, you have to wait, and then they have a long chapter, so you have to wait to kind of go back to the thing.
It's frustrating because you want to see the reaction.
Yeah.
Like the issue I have with the short chapter thing is like I feel it takes me about 3 or 4 minutes to kind of get immersed into like the character's head.
Absolutely.
So that's just the point where I'm getting properly into the character's head. So if chapters cut at that point to a different POV, kind of that's where it sort of feels jarring to me. But this is a thing with thrillers. It is common for thrillers to have shorter chapters because it gives readers the feeling that they're just, I'm just tearing through this book. That's what, you know, thriller publishers want. They want the reader to be like, I can't believe I finished 30 chapters today. This book is, I just can't put it down. You know, that's the feeling they want to give the readers.
Yeah, what was
definitely
the amount of chapters? Like 115 chapters or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was 115 exactly.
Yeah.
I guess it seems far too many to me, but I don't know.
I don't have so much an issue either with Joyce's diary entries or the switch into first person. It reminded me of the Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. He does that where the characters are initially written in third person, then a character is telling a story, goes to first person, then it switches back to them and present day third person, and it keeps switching around like that. And I think he does that extremely well. in that story, and I thought this was done well as well. It was the other characters that I had the issue with.
Okay, I think we've talked that to death. So I don't want to like keep talking negatively about the book, because there were a lot of aspects that I did like, but I am going to, because my biggest gripe, right? My biggest gripe was that at the end, when I'd finished the book, I was thinking back and I was like, thinking it was impossible for the listener or the reader to work out who the murderers are until the very end.
Yes.
And I did not like that at all. Because, I mean...
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like the depth of character detail that we were given, that it should have been possible for you to work it out if you pay close enough attention, and it was just impossible. There's a lot of red herrings that are thrown at you and scattered about that make you think, oh, this person could have done it, or that guy was involved, or what, this, that, and the other. And it was a serious letdown for me when I found out that no, you couldn't. It was literally impossible to figure it out until the character of John tells you, or Bogdan reveals at the end that he did it. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
now.
It really deflated me, like, and I had to throw my corkboard with all the, like, clues and evidence and bits of string and all. I had to throw that out in anger.
Yeah.
So, like,
yes.
Yeah, Michael, you go.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Stephen. I don't think enough clues were given. You don't necessarily need the reader to figure it out. I think the ideal, you want the reader to figure it out slightly before the characters. Like,
yeah, I'm not saying
before.
I'm not saying the reader has to figure it out, but I think I would have liked it that if you could look back and say, oh yeah, that this leads to that, and then oh yeah, I can see. Like
the thing that I always think about is like The Sixth Sense or Fight Club, where you don't get those twists usually. Most people don't get them, but then you rewatch the movies and you're like, oh my god, how did I not get this? Yeah. That's how you should feel. I think ideally you should be like, how did I not see this? It's so obvious. I think that's the feeling that's the ideal, where it looks so obvious the second time you experience the story.
You're spot on. Like, it was just very much out of the blue. I don't think there was any sort of indication of like who it was, and like re-listening to it, I spent the entire time being like, who is the actual killer? Because I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And then I got to the end and I realized what was about to happen. I was like, oh yes, this is the big reveal. After the other big reveal.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh yeah, came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, for definite. It was a serious blow.
Later.
I was waiting to be mind blown sort of moment, and it never happened. I was raging.
This book, like, maybe I read too much Stephen King and I'm just in a dark place too much, but I really think Joyce should have been the killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think that would have been...
The last chapter was just like diary entry by her admitting that she did it then.
The last chapter is like 5 seconds long. It just says, I did it.
I would have loved that. I would have 5 stars straight away.
Yeah, somehow that would have been better. I would have preferred that for sure.
Jonathan, I have to admit, I thought you were just listening to this book. While I was listening, I constantly had the thought, Jonathan is going to hate this book.
So did I.
So did I, yeah.
I was like, he's going to slate this badly.
Yeah.
I was like, there's too much going on here for Johnny. Like, there's not just one simple line.
I'm a simple man, simple pleasures. Like, I don't like all this mad, like, jumping all over the place. And then, like, I absolutely agree with everything that you guys have said. Like, it's like they throw you about all over the place, and then at the end it's like, oh no, it was somewhere. Like, nothing to do with like any of the things he's been pointing you at the whole time. Like,
I know, yeah.
I agree with you. I think it was. I don't know if like. I don't want to say it was like lazy on his part. I want to say that he was just focused on the characters. Like, the reason why they killed the people, was out of love or whatever, all that, nonsense. And like, of course, of course, that's going to be more on the character side. Like these like, even though they've done something bad, they did it out of love. So it's like a good bad. doing a bad thing for the right reasons or something. Like, so that's obviously more character orientated rather than he just wasn't really focused on the mystery side of things. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. I think we should acknowledge too that this is an extremely beloved book, and most people who read this seem to love this. It's just unfortunate that nobody on this podcast did. I was.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I
was
like
hoping
it.
you would.
Don't get me wrong.
I
I
think-
do like it. It's just there was a lot of things that I had issues with. I did enjoy listening to it.
I think perhaps, yeah. I think Lesley Manville's very good. I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. But I do think that maybe, not like judging it too harshly, I think you all had in your head that it was going to be like a really big murder mystery, and that's what you were expecting. Where like, I'm just quite happy that it was just like a nice, cozy wee story that came out in the middle of a pandemic when everything else was going to shit, and it was just like
I
a
wonder
nice wee time.
could that be why it's so loved and why,
I think, yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with like really wrong with it. I'm just saying could that be why it's so hyped and we're not getting it?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it is like,
Potentially,
it's
yeah.
like, it's a lot of good, it's slow village life, and I'm sure to a lot of people just pick this up, and it feels probably the way watching The Office does to me. It's just comfort. It's a nice little time for people. It's probably something that just didn't resonate with me, but I can understand that emotion going to something for comfort and that kind of cozy mystery genre. It just doesn't strike a chord with me personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I was absolutely, like you said, I was absolutely expecting like a full-fledged murder mystery that ties itself all together at the end, like, like Knives Out or something. I was looking for that. That's
I
what
love that
wanted.
movie.
Has anybody got any books like that?
I may have some up my sleeve.
Sweet.
All right now. No.
Move on to the spoiler review. So we'll throw any spoilers you got now.
We threw all the spoilers out there.
I know. But I guess I'm not going to step through the whole plot as we do sometimes. But I want to focus more on like one of the themes, the characters, some of the characters, I should say, the main characters. And I guess I want to focus a good bit on the actual murders and talk about them. Okay, so theme. I think a big theme for this, and we've touched on it a few times here, is that like everybody has a secret, everyone has a history, and like things aren't always what they seem. People have skeletons in their closet, and as Johnny said, sometimes people do bad things for good reasons. I mean, for me, I really liked that part, or liked that was a big theme, and it added something to the mystery, because once you see it a few times, you're starting to kind of question everybody, or at least I was trying to question everybody, like what's this guy done, or
Yeah.
they're looking shifty, sort of thing. I mean, like everybody has secrets, and nobody's super clean cut. Like you would think they are, like the priest, the cop, the vet, the nurse, the former boxer. They've all done something bad, like seriously bad. And yeah, it is sometimes a case that they did it for a good reason, or even just out of circumstance.
Well, I mean, did the priest really do something bad, or did he just fall in love?
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it. Yeah, he felt.
That's how Catholic you are.
Yeah, if you're a good Catholic boy. He broke his voice.
Well,
No, I mean, I don't think he really did anything bad. You're sort of led to believe that he did, and he's certainly one of the main suspects for a good chunk of the book. For like as soon as there was like that conversation with him and the police, I was like, he definitely did it, because he's being very shifty here.
And he was on the scuffle with Ian Bentham, wasn't he, just before he collapsed? So,
Yeah.
but then I think that part made it seem like it was like a Severus Snape kind of moment, and Philosopher's Stones, where it was like pointing at him too obviously. So it was like, oh no, maybe it wasn't him, because this scene is very clearly pointing at it as him. So it would be too obvious nearly. But I think, Yeah, I think Stephen, you did touch on one of the strengths again of the book. I think character motivations are really on point. Marion Keyes does an interview with Richard Osman after the book, and she uses a word over and over again to him, say tenderness, and I think that is true. A lot of the characters, they've got very heartfelt emotions, and their their motivations are all. They're all there. They're coming from a good place, even when they're doing bad things. So I think character motivation was something that is handled really strongly in this book.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was in the interview as well at the end that there's only really one bad character, and it's Ian Bentham.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is truly a bad person, just the way it goes on with everything. So that was interesting to me as well. In the end,
Yeah, of all the finger pointing, there's actually one bad person who actually gets killed.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, he deserved it in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were some things like, as I said, the priest's secret, where he was, he had a relationship with a nun, and she committed suicide and everything, and then he got kind of, what's the word? Excommunicated from the church, and it went on to be a doctor, and then he came back eventually and all that there. I think that it was all really interesting, and it was like a nice mini mystery alongside the other ones.
I think it's like one of the strongest bits of the book as well. Even like that little story sort of tells. I think it's definitely like a very emotional part of the book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good moment.
Yeah, and then like we have the guy, I can't remember his name. Was it Bernard Cottle or something? He kept his wife's ashes so that he could stay close to her and everything, and let his daughter believe that she'd scattered the ashes. That was a bit of a weird one, but it was definitely a nice detail, I think, that was included. Again, I think they focused too much on him. Like, it seemed like they pegged him for sitting on a bench. And they were like, he
shifty.
He did it. He's always shifty. He's always sitting on that bench. So
there was a lot of suicide in this book.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
There was Bernard. There was John and Penny at the end. I think.
Yeah,
there was another character I can't think of as well.
The nun, as well.
Oh yeah, the nun as well. Yeah,
nun.
Yeah, I said 2 at the start, but I suppose it is actually 4.
Well, 3.
Well, yeah, Penny was more like an assisted suicide type.
Euthanasia.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, euthanasia. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, can we stop and talk about Penny for a minute? I don't know. Well, I suppose that would. Well, yeah. Let's talk about the characters. But so can we?
Yeah, we're on spoilers. Yeah.
Let's talk about Penny a bit, because I really think that she could have been completely cut from the book. Because
really?
Yeah, because I mean, she doesn't. She's in some scenes, but she literally doesn't do anything. I know she has dementia and everything, right? But
she's not in a coma. She literally can't do anything.
Well, I don't know if she's in a coma. Is she in a coma? But I mean, yeah. So she's just kind of there, right? And I think it might have been better if Joyce was just Penny the whole time, and like she didn't join the club and all that part. And also the killing that she does. So, listener, if you haven't read or listened to the book, Penny, while she was a detective in the police, she killed a guy because he'd killed his wife and got away with it, and that's one of the 4 murders. But I think that one specifically could have been cut completely, and it was a lot of like it added to like the bulk of the book.
Well, I suppose like she is one of the murders at the end of the day. Like she is, like it ties the murder mystery together. Because like I'm pretty sure it's like the first paragraph is like them talking about why did this person bleed out? They shouldn't have bled out.
Oh, I actually forgot
Isn't
about
it?
that. You mean when Joyce comes into the room and everything?
Elizabeth's asking her about like how long it would take someone to bleed out, and doesn't that like tie into the whole Penny thing?
Yeah, that's right, because that's the murder that she did was that guy. Because I forgot all about that. But again, I still think it could have, that particular murder could have been cut because it's not the main focus of the book. You know what I mean? The main focus is who killed Tony Curran, and then Ian Bentham, I suppose.
Yeah. And then the other corpse that they from the 70s.
That's the one I'm talking about. I don't think that one was necessarily necessary to have happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it, and all the visits to her, it sort of took me out of it again, for some reason.
It's just a B plot, like.
I know, but there was I don't know, something about it didn't sit right with me. I don't know.
I kind of know where you're coming from, Stephen. I don't know if I would take Penny out of this book, but I do think it was sort of unfocused.
Yeah.
With the murders, like these three, I feel like could have been reduced to two somehow, or there could have been something that didn't feel as convoluted or something. It just
there was, I don't know, four murders. There was four, but two happened during the story, and two are historic murders. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So I suppose let's talk about the rest of the murder club. So we have Elizabeth, who's sort of I use this term a few times, Michael. Maybe you can correct me. So she's almost like a Mary Sue, right? Where she kind of has like an answer for everything. That's
you use that. Yeah, you use Mary Sue and the Philosopher's Stone, and I said I didn't think Hermione was a Mary Sue, but I do sort of agree with you here. I do think Elizabeth is a bit of a Mary Sue. I think she solves too many problems without any conflict. Yeah, and she does it off screen, and it's sort of unsatisfying, I feel.
Yeah, she just seems to have like endless contacts that she can call on just to advance the plot or to solve a small problem that the cast seemed to be having at the time.
Yeah.
Future spoiler territory. It just gets worse.
Does it? Fantastic. And like the whole throughout the book, we're kind of it's heavily implied, but not outright stated that she's some sort of spy, like MI5 or something like that. So she has all these contacts that she can just ring up and say, "Hey, I did you a favor. Can you come and look at these bones?" For example. That was a bit out of nowhere, but yeah.
Or she just knows a guy who happens to be able to, can date bones.
Yeah.
Tell, know, I just know a guy.
Just happens to know a guy who would also just do that, That's highly illegal.
He's no bother with it. He'll do it no bother. Just a couple of biscuits and he'll be happy enough. And some tea.
Yeah.
What tea?
Like, I think I can sort of see what Richard Osman was trying to go for here. It was like, how funny would it be if one of these characters was sort of James Bond? Like it's another bit of juxtaposition to make it funnier. But I think there was just that issue with her just solving the conflicts, and it was too easy and not earned enough.
Yeah, I agree with
from the newest James Bond movies, the Daniel Craig ones, like that as Elizabeth,
Yeah, that would be good casting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with both points that you made there, and I did find it kind of funny sometimes though that like everybody else in the group is almost useless for solving crimes, but she's like class at it. There was a bit of humor there, like for sure. Okay, so we also have Ibrahim, and he's the sort of clever one of the group. Not at solving crimes necessarily, but he has all this random information that he can, if you're looking to find something out about some random thing, he can tell you off the top of his head. And him and Ron have a sort of odd couple relationship where, like, they're not the usual two people who are like good friends. Where like one is a bookworm and sort of know it all, and the other person's like a tough, more like brutish character who likes a good pint. And I enjoyed their dynamic quite a bit.
I was going to say, I feel like Ibrahim is definitely not fleshed out very much in this book. I definitely feel like he's one of the least fleshed out, if not the least fleshed out, of the main characters anyways. And you're right, it just seems to, because he worked as a psychiatrist or psychologist, it just means he knows everything about everybody.
Yeah.
Which is just not how it works, but
yeah, I think I agree. I think he is definitely the least, unless you count Penny as well. He's the least fleshed out member of the group. But I suppose Ron is close, but he kind of gets more fleshed out because of his son's involvement in the whole thing. So
Yeah,
you learn a bit more about him, yeah. Michael, you going to say
I
something?
think yeah, Ibrahim and Ron to me both felt a bit two dimensional. I know we do get a lot of Ron's history or anything, but I didn't really get a strong sense of his personality. I sort of got that he was a gruff guy, but it just didn't really come across that strongly to me. I think their relationship together was more interesting than them as individuals. Is what
Yeah,
I'll say.
I think I agree with that for sure.
What I would say, again, I know we're focusing on the one book, but I would definitely, this must be like a common enough, not complaint, but something that Richard Osman picked up on, because I would say Abraham definitely gets fleshed out more over the next two books.
Yeah, I sort of I read ahead of the second book, and I know what you're hinting at there. So yeah. So Johnny, anything to say about Big Abe?
No, again, just agree. There wasn't too much about him, like, yeah, so he wasn't as well fleshed out as, yeah, like, I think that the main dynamic is Joyce and Elizabeth, really, out of the four.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I actually think, I know we haven't spoke about the narrator, but I think that, that's kind of the narrator suited that, like, better, like, I feel like she was good at the woman voices, but maybe not as good at the men voices, so, I maybe didn't enjoy listening, being that this is an audiobook, like, I didn't enjoy listening to them as much as I did the woman.
I like the men voices. I think particularly Ron. I think I don't know, some about her delivery of him kind of added to the his character for me.
Yeah, I
I
think,
could definitely picture him, like when she was speaking.
Aye,
yeah, I think like Ron for me, like, yeah, I think he even like talks about this as well in that like interview after, about like Ron, kind of like he's trying to make him this like hard man character or whatever, but he is kind of like, he's always like looking out for you as well. And I think that's again like kind of more targeting the word tenderness as well. That's Michael's mentioned before. Like, it's there's this kind of really good side to every character. And again, so they always like, it seems like he's always trying to like bring out the good of every character, even like the ones that don't seem as good on the outside.
it's a really good point. Yeah. I suppose let's with that then let's talk about Ron a bit more. I guess we've said quite a bit about him already. So he's kind of he's the tough guy of the group, but as Johnny pointed out, he's got a softer side as well.
I think it all boils down to his profession. Like, he was a union leader,
Yeah,
striking. Like, yeah, he clearly cares about people and like rights. But I think definitely, especially with what his age when he would have been striking, like realistically, minor strike stuff like that, you would have had to have been hard as nails.
that's a really good. Those are really good points. Yeah, I know I didn't pick up on that.
Well, I mean, that's just what I'm inferring onto the character, anyways.
No, it's canon now. I'll get on to Richard. Tell him. So yeah, I mean, I think there's not much more to say about him. Like we hear a good bit about him because of his son. Is it Jason Ritchie? And he's got like some connections to the underworld a bit, sort of gangs and drugs and stuff like that. So I thought there was a weird kind of relationship there where like Ron seems on the face really like good, like a good like a good person, where his son is a bit more murky, and their relationship was kind of interesting to me. I suppose then last but not least is Joyce, and she's the sort of the level head of the group. We got a lot of info from her, like personal reflections on events that have happened through her diary entries, and just the way she her understandings of the different things they've investigated and everything. And she was also a source of entertainment. I think I said before about her thoughts on like ASOS and Tinder. I thought it was quite funny. And again, one gripe that I had with her was that it's at the start it kind of plays up that she's a new member and all that, but it sort of never really explores it any further. She kind of just falls right into it, which isn't a bad thing. It's just something I thought was kind of weird. And like I said, I think maybe Penny should have just been removed entirely in place of Joyce, and then it's revealed that Joyce is the killer all along. I think I would have loved that.
Yeah.
I think he knew he was making this into a franchise.
Yeah.
He was never going to make the main character of.
So, like, does anybody have anything about Joyce?
I like Joyce. I thought she was probably my favorite character in the book. I thought she had the strongest sense of character, the strongest voice. I think she was the most developed and everything. Her observations, I didn't ever laugh at the book, but I did find them amusing. Is it her who has the coffee and walnut cake?
I think so.
I actually had a vegan coffee and walnut cake in the middle of reading this story, so it's becoming sort of a thing where I will eat something from the book. So I'm just very impressionable and.
You had the potato pancakes, didn't you, from the
All Quiet. So I'm gonna try and eat an item from each book going forward.
When you dragged us across Prague to get a potato pancake.
Yeah.
that was the whole reason.
What did you think of the cake?
It was very good. I don't know if they used almond flour on it, but it was very good.
Not walnuts, just all almonds.
Should we devote a section to that? Just Michael's, I don't know, Michael's food corner. Yeah, so I suppose anything else about Joyce, or will we just move on to the murders and talk about the meat of the book?
I think she's the best character.
Yeah.
Michael said it already. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's go into the murders now and talk about this for the kind of rest of the podcast here. So, I suppose there's two main murders. There's two murders that actually happen in the book, and as I said, while investigating these, two historic murders are revealed. One is only hinted at, but only the listener finds out the kind of, who did it sort of thing. Or actually, sorry, one of them is only implied, that being Gianni, that he's dead, but so only the reader kind of finds out at the very end that he is in fact, through a reveal from one of the other characters. But I suppose going in sort of sequence here. So Tony Curran. So Tony's a former builder and partner of Ian Bentham, who's the landowner of Cooper's Chase. And at the start of the book, we learn that Ian intends to replace Tony as his main builder with a man called Bogdan. And after Tony is then murdered shortly after this, and we learn that a photo was left by his body showing Tony and a number of other people, including Jason Ritchie, who's the son of Ron, in front of a pile of money. So this then leads to us to believe, or the police and the characters in the book to believe, that one of these people in the photo must be the killer. So they're all suspects. We also learned that Tony and Ian had a row in the pub, very public row, the day of the murder, I think it was. So kind of Ian is initially the prime suspect, but he is later killed himself. And then, as I said, Jason Ritchie is suspected to be the killer for a good chunk of the book, because his car is spotted in the vicinity around the time of the murder, and it's also revealed that he made multiple phone calls to Tony on the same day. But the motive for him is a bit unclear. And then the last sort of suspect is this man called Gianni, or Turkish Gianni is like his nickname. A lot of the book is devoted to him and trying to work out where he is and why he might have done it, and is he still at large, sort of thing. I think he is the only one who might have a motive, and that he owes Tony a pile of money. But so let's talk about this one a bit. So I wanted to ask kind of who you all suspected was Tony's killer throughout the book. Did you at first say, oh, it has to be this person, and then you change your opinion, or who did you think did it throughout the story?
I was trying to think, as Jonathan said on the Slow Horses episode, it's always an inside job. So I was constantly trying to align motives to the four members of the First Day Murder Club. So that was always what I was doing. I was trying to say which one of them would have the motive. At points I thought possibly Ron and some kind of backstory to protect his son or something like that. But I kept throwing that to the side when those chapters were brought on, because they weren't really foreshadowed as killers or anything. So I was always trying to piece it together that way. I did suspect Father Mackey at times, but when Ian died and then Father Mackey was the one in the scuffle, I thought that he would have been too obvious then. So I was kind of at a loss, to be honest, and I didn't really have any strong theories after that.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of went down the same sort of thing, with suspecting Ron. Maybe not that he did it, but that he was involved. I thought Jason for a lot of the book was the killer, even after he quote unquote proved that it wasn't him, which I think is a bit dubious. He sort of just got away with it, sort of thing. So I was kind of thinking that he fooled the police and that his dad was in on it a bit.
I thought it was bogged down at one stage, because like the whole point at the start is like Ian was like, "Oh yeah, you're going to have to replace this man," and then like, what we do that, and sort of just like left a bit ambiguous.
Yeah.
Would Bogdan kill him or not? So like in my head, it was like, yeah, Bogdan had killed him because Ian Fenton had sent him, and not for this other reason that becomes apparent.
It comes out of nowhere.
At the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Again, I also suspected Bogdan at the start, but I later in the book, when Jason got involved in everything, I thought that it was supposed to be like, you were supposed to be led to believe that it was Bogdan from the start. So that I thought it was like a red herring sort of thing, and I suppose it was, but like it turned out to be him anyway. So
gotcha.
It was it's a purple herring.
It was a red herring within a red herring.
It's like a non-red herring kind of thing.
Johnny, so what or Jason, did you have any other suspects?
I think I definitely was on Bogdan for a bit. I never suspected any of the murder club. I never thought it was any of those. I thought maybe like Jason or something. I thought that might have been a bit interesting, but once they sort of gave us an excuse, I was like, well, fine. It's okay with me,
Yeah.
You'd be very, very forgiving as law enforcement, Jason. No, it's fine.
Absolute good cop.
It's grand. Like.
Take it easy.
Good.
Johnny, do you, who did you think?
Well, yeah, I'll admit that I didn't, even though my original guess of the plot was that it was one of the people inside, I never for a second did think that. But it does make sense, because I think one of the main points, especially of this book, is that Richard is trying to get across is like, as like the stereotype of like people being old, and like, people just kind of write them off because they're old, and like, they could have never done it, or they can't do this because they're old. And then like, I think that was where a lot of the humor as well came from. Like there's like a one where I can't remember who it was, but one of the elderly people like tricks the cop Chris, and they thinking that he's like senile or something, and he only wants to talk to Donna. They like, that's how they got.
That is Ron, isn't it?
Donna instead of Chris.
Yeah.
Is that Ron? Yeah. So like there's like funny bits like that, but it's like playing on the fact that people expect he's senile, or it makes sense, okay, and like you can underestimate them a bit. So it does actually make sense to me that the killer was or one of the elderly people. In terms of, whenever the priest came up, I was just like, that's too obvious, because I feel like a lot of definitely modern day literature always has this kind of like dirty priest kind of character, that's yeah, something off, like I don't know, they're just, everyone's against the church and all now, so I just feel like this character's too common, and it's like, no, it can't be that. I actually did then think it was maybe like maybe not Chris, but like somebody they do with like the police or something like that, because I just felt like that's, again, although it's like an obvious thing, it's usually something like that, but I just felt like the police were about, like, apart from Donna, they were about crap throughout this like investigation. That was obviously it was supposed to be the elderly people solving it, because that's the whole point of the plot, but it just felt like they were kind of
they were a bit
holding it up a bit.
They were a bit incompetent.
Is that on purpose? Are they trying to do this, or like, yeah? So that's the only thing my mind was getting. But yeah, I didn't really see the who the killers were coming.
Yeah,
Like.
you talked about the priest there. I don't think I suspected him for Tony at all. Definitely for Ian, but I didn't get him for Tony at all. Yeah, I didn't see.
Can I just justify to another reason why Ron would have made sense, as Jonathan said, thematically. Another theme that would have tied into that is the one of good people, doing a bad thing to protect someone. If he had have been protecting his son, that would have tied into that theme.
Yeah.
So I feel like it could have there could have been a backstory that tied him in somehow, but there never was that given. So
yeah. Okay, so we I think somebody mentioned it, but it's eventually revealed that Bogdan killed Tony, because Tony and Jason and some of the other people we hear about are involved in some gang back in the day, and they did some job, and this taxi driver got killed by them to like cover it up, sort of thing. So it was a taxi driver, right? I think.
Yeah.
And he was their getaway driver a couple of times, and one of the people killed him, and it happens that Bogdan is his mate, and you don't find that out till the end of the book. So that's what we were kind of getting at. We were saying it was kind of out of nowhere. So yeah, so he did it out of revenge. Was his motive, and yeah, it's not hinted at or anything at all.
Not foreshadowed, no.
Yeah, yeah. At the end, the characters don't even. That was another thing. The characters don't even find out who killed Tony. They kind of go off on one of the other murders and just forget about this one entirely, which was kind of weird. We as the listener or the reader only find out because Bogdan tells what's his name? Is it Stephen? Who's something like that.
Yeah, Elizabeth's husband, Stephen. Yeah,
Elizabeth's husband, who's sort of he's kind of starting to get a bit forgetful, but yeah. So he's not going to remember that he told him, so he sort of confesses at the end. Which I thought, right, leading into that, where he's talking to Stephen and Elizabeth isn't there, I thought she's going to have this like flat bugged or something because she's an ex-spy. So I thought that's the way he was going. We were going like, aha, got you.
I was hoping it was going to be more again that because he underestimated Stephen, and like Stephen actually does remember, and then he tells Elizabeth. That's what I was thinking when I was confessing. I was like, oh, this is obviously going to come back to bite him, but never did.
Never did. Okay, so then the next murder is Ian Bentham, who's he's the landowner for the retirement village, and as we said, he's a really bad guy. I think everything about him is terrible, but he's sort of that's his characterization. He's a bad guy, and he wants to remove a graveyard that's in the retirement community. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Garden of something, but it basically that's it. Eternal Rest, yeah, and it basically is the resting place of a bunch of nuns. So he wants to get rid of all the bodies so that he can kind of develop more flats or something. So he's killed in front of a large crowd of people, many of the residents of the retirement community. And shortly before his death, he's like being held in like a sort of like he's being held back by a number of the residents because he got into a fight with the priest, and he dies shortly after that. So you kind of, every single person that was around at the time is a suspect almost, because it reveals that he actually died from fentanyl poisoning, meaning that it had to be someone nearby just before his death. So we kind of have a list of suspects, or I suppose the murder club has a
30,
list
isn't it? There was.
Say again.
I think there was 30 people present, they said.
Yeah, so the murder club kind of narrows it down to the 30 people who were present, and they can kind of narrow it down further based on who the people were and how far they were and all this, that, and that sort of thing. So I think the first one that they sort of zone in on is this man Bernard Cottle, because he's always sitting on a bench near the graveyard, and I think was he holding them back at the time, holding Ian back when he dropped dead. I think he was. So they kind of finger him for the killer, but and I think they're a wee bit harsh on him too at times when they're questioning him and stuff.
And sort of
Essentially believe it,
inadvertently
suicide.
caused his death.
Yeah, so much so that he committed suicide. Like,
Yeah.
but
Like the same day.
yeah,
Like, fuck, I'm gonna kill myself now.
the same day, yeah. Which I thought when that happened, I was like, well, it has to be him. But then he obviously did it to escape justice, sort of thing. The suicide, I mean. But then you find out from his like note that he actually didn't want Ian to dig up the land because his wife's ashes are buried there, and he had lied to his daughter that she believed that she'd scattered the ashes, where in fact he kept it to like stay close to her, which was sort of sweet. But I mean, I don't think they had to have him kill himself. I don't think Richard had to have him commit suicide. I think that was a bit too far, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then the other kind of main suspect, I suppose, that they focus a lot of their attention on is the priest. Yeah, so Matthew Mackey?
Yeah,
And
priest name.
I can't remember his first name.
yeah, his motive
It was Mackie. Yeah.
Father Mackey. Yeah, so his motive is probably the strongest because he's the priest of the community, and so he didn't want the graveyard full of nuns to be dug up. And he was in a fight with the guy just before he died, so he's kind of suspect number one. And then, but you find out throughout, the priest's backstory. And I suppose I should touch on like when the priest is arrested, he's sort of very cryptic in his answers to the police, and he doesn't want to give anything away because they like did some research on him and found no documentation about him actually being a priest. So it's a bit sus there. And I really like the whole sort of mystery around that. So at the very end, then we find out that it was actually John, who is Penny's husband, that killed Ian, because he hopes to stop the development because it might reveal something that Penny had done in the past. Where I think I already said that she kind of killed this guy when she was a police officer because he had escaped justice and killing his wife. Which was a bit weird to me that was the reveal, but yeah, I suppose same thing again. So who did you guys suspect throughout the Ian Bentham investigation?
Again, to be honest, I kind of thought it was going to be the same person who killed Tony.
Oh, you thought it was a serial killer job?
Yeah, because I felt like maybe Ian Bentham was a main suspect because obviously he was involved with Tony. And I felt like maybe that they murdered him because he either found out about it or there was some maybe Tony and Ian were in on something together against this person or something like that. But yeah, to be honest, again, I don't really see it as being in one of the elderly people or anything like that. That just it's completely changed direction on my life.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of went along the same lines because they were so closely related that it must be something related to the same event that they were both killed. But yeah, as it went along, I sort of distanced from that because when you find out obviously about the fentanyl and everything, I was like, well, somebody had to be there, somebody had to be somebody present, and who has motive for both the murders? It was kind of murky for me. Yeah,
it was just left so open, like, wasn't it? It was just like, oh, there was so many people here. It could have been anyone. And I think it's probably just down to how Richard Osman is writing. As the more we discuss this book, I'm realizing, his writing probably is a bit terrible. Is that like? Well, I mean,
this was his first book, to be fair.
It's a murder mystery, but like, there was never really any. You look back and read it a second time, you're like, oh yes, it was definitely this person.
Yeah.
There's no way of knowing that until it's revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you suspect anybody leading up to that, or were you like Johnny and you just thought it was the same person killed Tony?
I mean, second time round, I knew Penny had something to do with a murder.
Aye.
I knew there was something to do with that. I honestly couldn't tell you what I was thinking first time round. I just knew in my head. I remembered the Penny and her husband had something to do with someone dying. So I feel like I didn't know that second time around. I was just like, yeah, well, I know what's happened, but even still, there was no like there was nothing written there. It was like
Yeah.
pointed towards it happening.
Yeah.
I think there was one. I was just thinking there was one. I think it was him anyway. There was one time where a character says something like, "Oh, you would be surprised at what I could do," sort of thing, or what I, have done, sort of thing. I can't. I think it was him that said that. So maybe that's a little nod that he might be involved somehow. But it was kind of he doesn't feature that much, and I thought it was like a kind of throwaway thing.
I think he's normally just sitting there quiet when they're in chatting the pennies and not like. So.
Yeah. Well, that's is that not a trope? Like the quiet guy did it.
Well,
Don't know.
usually the quiet guy has like actual some sort of dialogue.
I suppose, yeah. I suppose that's true. Yeah. Michael, who are your suspects?
I didn't really have anybody that I thought it was, and I just know I was rooting for it to be Joyce. and but I did like the exchange of like the First Day Murder Club all like recognizing that they were also suspects. I thought that was a good moment.
Yeah.
Just them kind of saying, you were also there. But no, I didn't really. I think Jason is. I wouldn't say Richard Osman was a terrible writer. I think he was excellent at characterization. Just the mystery aspect of the story was. It was missing some beats, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he was, but I don't think he's necessarily a terrible writer. I think he was learning a lot. Obviously, this is his first book. I think he was learning as he was going, sort of thing. But
Definitely the murder mystery aspect is lacking. But I mean, it also goes back to my original point. It's not necessarily a murder mystery book. It's just a very cozy wee story about these elderly people trying to be useful. They'll have a lot of energy and like things to give to the world, but they're stuck in an older person's body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I suppose then moving on then, so the mystery body in the grave, whose name I cannot remember, and I don't think it matters because shortly after Ian is killed, Bogdan is seen climbing this hill or something, and so Ian had asked him to like kind of dig up some of the bodies for some reason that I can't remember. So he does that and finds that one of the graves has two bodies in it. Like it was, and one of the one looks much older than the other. So it looks like there was a third murder sort of thing. And we've kind of talked about it before, but it was Penny that had committed this murder to get justice on someone who had killed his wife and got away with it. And then I think I've kind of talked this one to death, but this one felt really shoehorned in to me, especially John covering and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, did you guys have any suspects on who did this one? I thought it was kind of just I thought it wasn't going to be anybody in the story, and it was just it just happened to be there sort of thing. So. Jason, do you remember if you had like suspected anybody doing this?
No.
No.
No, I hadn't a clue. I just
Isn't this?
Yeah.
Sorry, is this murder? Is this the one that So I think this was the only reason for this was that they kind of got led down a path of being like, oh, this must be related.
Yeah.
So the person that did the Ian Vantham murder must have been here 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was like, I don't know, like if I should have just went with this, like, because that would have been quite interesting, or like maybe it wasn't the exact same person, but it was actually related. Like, say it was like a dad and a son, like it could have been Ron and his son or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think now that I think about it, I was kind of disappointed, like that it was just this is just an unrelated murder from 30 years ago by Penny, like.
Yeah, and there was so much time devoted to this part.
Yeah, and it kind of led you down the path, and like that's okay if like it leads you down the path, and then that's to distract you, and then there's this other great reason that it did distract you for, but there wasn't no reason as well that it distracted you. It was just like no reason.
Yeah, so that's kind of that's what I was getting at earlier when I said this. The whole Penny bit could have been just cut out, I think. and saved a lot of time. Okay, Michael, do you have any suspects for that one other than I guess the same person
No,
who did Ian?
not really. I agree with what you were kind of getting at. This that come out of left field a bit for me as well. The whole penny thing and everything. I felt things should have been tied together a bit better, like the separate murders.
Yeah, I found this at one point I do want to make is that after I'd finished the book, I thought it was maybe almost a misdirect from Bogdan, because after you find out that it's Penny, I'm kind of like, well, why did he? And you find out that Bogdan killed somebody else, it's like, why did he kind of put the spotlight on himself there? I was like, was he misdirecting? Because he couldn't have been involved in this first one, so maybe that'll get people thinking he couldn't have been involved in Tony or Ian or whatever. Don't know. But yeah, interesting. So I suppose the fourth murder then is, and it doesn't even there's no real time devoted to this, but it's Turkish Gianni, who is one of the suspects for Tony's murder. And this sort of subplot kind of annoyed me a lot because, again, a lot of time was devoted to this. I think there's a part where they even go to Greece or something.
Cyprus,
Cyprus,
it was a Cyprus, yeah. And yeah, it was so much time was devoted to it, and it's so heavily implied. Like, it's pretty much all everybody's convinced that it's him towards the end, like in the book. I mean, and then we find out that Bogdan killed him years ago for the same reason that he killed Tony. And I was like, wow, okay. I don't know. That one, I didn't think he was dead though, so I that one came out of nowhere, so there was no way to have any suspects for it. But
Yeah.
I suppose, what did you think about the Gianni investigation? I suppose that he is the killer for Tony and Ian.
I find it weird that Ron and
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim. Yeah, I find it weird that they were both just also in Cyprus. They're like, they got sent there, but it's like also like, come on, try and keep it some sort of like,
I know.
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah, it's like they're sort of somehow now spies as well, where they're just following the police. Sort of like, it's kind of weird. All right, I suppose. Yeah, I think that'll tie us up there for the
Elizabeth probably knew somebody who owned a private jet or something.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose I think that'll do us for the review. There was a lot there, so I think I give it maybe a 2.5. I'm kind of hesitant to give it higher than a 2, to be honest, but I think certain parts of it pulled it up, like the narration and some of the funny parts, I think, pulled it up a bit for me. And I did enjoy the book. It's just looking back, there was a lot of things that annoyed me, so I think I'm going to say 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Richard Osman intended it to be is probably exactly, like, he did want it to just be this cozy one and not what we wanted it to be. I think we were wanting more on the mystery side. Like, he never, like, I think that's more our expectation and the reason that we're kind of, like, not as happy with the book. I think, if you came into this and that's what you did want, that's probably why you would really like this book. But yeah, I think I agree with you, Stephen. I would like the more mystery kind of side of things, and that'll let it down. But yeah, there was good points about this. Definitely it was something different. All these old people doing the whole. They were the main characters. Basically, it was focused on the what's the word for pensioners, I guess.
Retirees.
Retirees, yes, that's a better term. Yeah, and also I think we did mention the narrator a few times, but we didn't really actually do a full section on it. So I'll just give my opinion on that. I thought the narrator was really good at the woman's voice. It's the first time I think we've had a female narrator, is that right? I don't think any of the other books have had one.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first female, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was really nice to kind of maybe get a different type of voice, female voice, and obviously it really suited definitely Joyce and Elizabeth. I did say I didn't really like the male characters, although you guys seem to have liked them. I just didn't really think they were. I think it is like I think it's easier for a man to do a woman's voice than a woman to do a man's, if that makes sense. It's just, I don't know if that's a good thing for men or a bad thing for men that I'm saying that, but I just think that is the case. Definitely in most cases, but no, I think the Elizabeth and Joyce were really good, and definitely all the female characters, like a lot of was it Elizabeth's daughter, Joyce's daughter, one of the two. There's a couple of other woman characters in it too, and Donna as well. So yeah, the narrator I thought was quite good. Not amazing, nothing special, but definitely a nice change. So overall, I think I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, there was a lot of good in this book. The characters were really strong. I think the setting was it was very idyllic. It was a place you enjoyed being. But as we discussed ad nauseum during our review, there are a lot of issues with the plot. There are a lot of missing foreshadowing and a lot of things that kind of come out of nowhere, and it didn't function the way I think a mystery should function. Even a cozy mystery, I think there should have been more. I just think there should have been more clues. I'm not asking for more action or anything. Just I should have been asking more questions or having more theories during this book, I feel. So I think I coming against, like, the positive and the negative are kind of crashing against each other in equal measures. So I'm gonna go right down the middle and give it a 2.5, like Stephen. Just to touch on the narrator as well, I think she did an excellent job. It was really well read. I didn't have any issues at all, and thought she did probably bring that enjoyment level up just a tiny bit as well.
So, like, I really did enjoy the book. Obviously, I've went ahead and listened to the other 2 afters. I do now, definitely after more discussing it more, I do feel like there are a lot of issues with the plot. But I think purely for just, like, entertainment values, I got a lot out of it. I think the narrator's great. Actually, I think Lesley Manville's done a really good job. I would probably go for 3.5.
Okay, so that's the stars. Cool. So what's after that then? It's the comparisons to other media, right? I mean, I guess any sort of mystery novel or story, but I mean,
we brought up the podcast one, didn't we? The only.
Oh yes. So can you touch on that again, just to?
So there is a series, only Murders in the Building. It is is it on Disney, Jason?
Yeah, Disney Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a Disney series. So it's about three people who love true crime podcasts, and they basically are investigating a murder. So it's that kind of same premise as these out of water, fish out of water murder investigators, people who shouldn't really be investigating a murder, diving into it. So I think that's a very, it's very similar premise kind of, and the main cast of that is Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. So
Steve Martin.
I think it's a pretty interesting cast.
I haven't seen him in anything in a long time.
And it's got an 8.1 on IMDb, which is solid.
I think it's interesting. It's probably because it's like the most recent, the most culturally relevant cozy mystery is the American one. Like, the only Murders in the Building, where, like, I think the genre as a whole is, like, very British. Like, I think Murders in a Village is very much like this thing. Like, I mean, even to a lesser extent, like, you can nearly say Hot Fuzz is a bit like that.
I love that movie.
I love Hot Fuzz. Yeah, right enough though.
Like, you've got like your Midsummer Murders. You've got all that Agatha Christie stuff, everything.
Yeah,
stuff your grandparents would watch.
Agatha Christie. Like,
yeah.
Whereas if you compare it to an American murder, it's usually just some psychopath with some sexual tendencies going around slaughtering everyone.
Well, that is usually a reality, to be fair.
I know, that's what I suppose it's like the bigger American towns and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah. Usually it comes back to sex, doesn't it?
Oh, jeez.
For most killers.
Sex or cult. Some religious
or some sort of sex cult.
Sex cult. That's you get twice as many murders in those ones.
let's not stay on that one too much. I think there's so much out there, like Jason said. So we'll move on to trivia if anybody has any. I mean, Michael again stole the Spielberg one that I was gonna say. So
Yeah, Michael's mentioned Spielberg, and I've mentioned that Richard Osman has left terrestrial, or like all the sort of daytime Pointless. I think he's still doing the celebrity Pointless and his other TV show, House of Games or whatever that is, but he's definitely left his full time job to pursue writing these novels. So
yeah, I suppose I think it was in the interview at the end where, or maybe it was even on the blurb where it says like that he was inspired to like write the book because he went to a retirement village. So I wonder, was he like talking to these people and he realized, people have done some shady stuff. they're passing. That's a good idea for a story.
I suppose my own personal trivia, I've listened to this book twice and just never listened to that interview.
Oh really?
Just
I mean, I almost wasn't going to listen to it. I thought I was kind of at the point where I just wanted to move on, but I thought since I was hosting and everything, I probably should listen to it to see what he had to say. And it was okay, I suppose. Maybe they went on a bit too long, but
just wasn't interested. I was just
it was okay.
I'm just like, I'm finished the book.
Johnny, any trivia?
No, I just had the Spielberg thing as well. Not
Sorry.
We're all down to get that one in, weren't we?
Classic Michael, but always spoils a bit of trivia early on. Okay, so then next section is what else are we consuming? So I suppose I can go first. So still been catching up with the Always Sunny podcast. Loving that. I think they've a few new episodes out, and it makes me laugh out loud every time I put it on. It's really interesting to hear some of the behind the scenes stuff, like the movies that the guys are working on at the minute. What was that show called? Me and Sarah watched the show on Disney. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, yesterday we watched the Michael J. Fox story. If you've seen that advertised. So Michael J. Fox, who was in like a bunch of stuff back in the day, like Back to the Future, Teen Wolf, all that there, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's and everything. It's kind of about his life from being a young kid to becoming a hit movie star to then getting Parkinson's and like living with it and everything. I thought it was incredible. Definitely something I would recommend for you guys to watch. I think it was on Apple TV actually. Again, every time we do one
Apple
of these,
TV.
every time we do one of these, it seems like I recommend something from Apple TV. But
And if Apple TV is listening, feel free to give us free money for sponsor for all these shout outs that Stephen's giving you. You can give it directly to Stephen actually, because I don't think Michael's mentioned it once.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But see, that's the problem though with the service, is that it's quite expensive and there's not that much. There's everything that's on there I think is good, but there's not enough of it. I think I said that.
Now we've lost
five.
Now we've lost the sponsorship.
Cut that out, Michael. I'm just telling you.
Cut that out. Like in 5 years' time, it'll probably have built up a big library and it'll be like amazing. Like it'll be up to Netflix kind of standard. But yeah, it seems like that's the reason I haven't signed up to it or anything yet, because there's just not enough on there to make it worth it.
There's definitely a lot of good stuff on there, but it's too expensive for what it is. The only reason I have it is because I get it through like a family plan thing, for free. So we have like Apple One, I think it's called, where like me, my dad, my sister, that we all like subscribe to it together, and so we get that like free. You get like Apple Music and everything. So
Mary Kate plays for mine.
Oh, happy days.
Nice.
I mean, I've definitely been narking you about one of these shows, but last season of Barry coming out currently.
Stephen,
also,
I think, mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
Last episode, I think.
Actually, I was telling Stephen to watch it, that's why. Also, Succession, last season of that, aired at the exact same time as Barry. I think they are both HBO shows, actually. They're both amazing TV. So yeah, both new episodes of those will be out tomorrow morning. So, and then I've got the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor game which I have put
You
a lot of
lucky
hours
duck.
into already in about a week.
I'd love
So
to
I'm
be playing
surprised
that
that
right now. I just can't justify the cost.
yeah, no, I bought it on a hangover last weekend, to be honest. So so I normally spend my money is when I'm hungover. And then, well, I have been listening to The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Has anyone
Love
heard or
that
listened
book.
to that before?
I
Have
haven't.
listened
No.
to it, have read it yet.
Yeah, yeah. So I very annoyingly have 17 minutes left of that book. I just didn't have time to get finished working around here. But yeah, amazing book. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very much excited to explore more of his books.
How it is. Just to go back to me real quick because I've remembered. So I started watching Game of Thrones again from the start. Me and Sarah going through that. Just kind of watch one a night sort of thing. Just nice one to kind of fall back into. Especially since I'm listening to the audiobooks at the same time. So I finally finished Feast for Crows, which took that's far too long for some reason. I'm not sure why it took me so long. And started Dance, and that's like 50 hours long, so it's going to take me forever, I guess. And then I suppose I also started rewatching Trailer Park Boys, which is a show that I've definitely recommended to you, Jason, and I don't think you liked it, but I love it. Watching all the movies and stuff, it's great. It's kind of the one I can sort of just put on in the background, but I can see why people wouldn't like it at the same time. It's a sort of mockumentary type thing where these people live in a trailer and they're all terrible people.
I haven't really watched much TV or any movies really, to be honest. I'm kind of slacking on that part. I've listened to quite a few audiobooks. Listened to 6 actually since the last episode.
Wow. What
Not counting the one, not this one.
what was the last
so
episode, like a month ago we recorded that?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
So I've listened to Smoke and Mirrors by Neil Gaiman. It's not the first time I've listened to that. I've listened to The Hunger Games. I listened to I Found You, which is another thriller. Notes from a Small Island by Bill Bryson, which is a very strange book because it's about Bill Bryson going to England and just ranting about everything and that's the entire 10-hour audiobook. Yeah, so and I've listened to Will Save the Galaxy for Food, which was an amazing book. It's kind of the space comedy genre, like Hitchhikers. I listened to a book called Glucose Revolution, which is like it's a book getting a lot of buzz right now. I think I talked last time about a book that I really love is The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung, which is like about fasting and how it what insulin does in your body and how to lower insulin and stuff. So this is about glucose, which is it's closely related to insulin, and it's about blood glucose and how to lower that and stuff and what blood glucose does to you. And I was like very tired during, like, when I wasn't fasting. When I'm eating, I feel very tired at the moment, so I was kind of looking for something that I could do to help that. So I listened to this book, and it's, as she says at the beginning, she's a biochemist. She's not a doctor. She's not giving medical advice. These are just tips that you can try and stuff, and she calls them hacks. So right away it sounds sort of red flag.
Yeah.
But they're very harmless. It's basically drink like apple cider vinegar diluted in water helps lower your blood sugars before you eat a meal. Like eating your vegetables first helps control your blood sugar. So I've actually been doing an experiment the last week, and I've been doing most of these hacks. Just like I always like just try these random things just to see how they feel. And I have to actually tell you, my sleep and everything has improved, and it's been great. I went kind of extreme with it then, and I was like not eating any sugar for a while. And then I was like, oh no, I don't want to live like that forever. So I've kind of come back to a bit more moderate version of that. But yeah, I think this is very legitimate. The science behind it is very interesting. She knows what she's talking about. I think it's worth looking into anyway if you are feeling like groggy and you're constantly getting these blood sugar crashes from food. and feeling tired at 3 o'clock in the day like I was, and feeling like you need a nap, this is very useful for getting more energy, because I've been getting up and I've been trying to like run back and forth from work every day, which requires a lot of energy, and that's like 4 kilometers each way.
Yeah,
So
I've
I've been trying to like boost my energy levels, and I think this has definitely helped a lot. So I've just been like I've been doing very little. I've just been eating like half an avocado before each meal. Yeah, I find it very useful for just upping my energy levels.
Cool. Some things you said there that I want to talk to you about after. Like that book that you said, We'll Save the Galaxy for Food. I want to hear more about that.
Great book. I would definitely recommend it, because I really enjoyed that one.
It sounds class to me, to be honest. Okay, Johnny?
Yeah, so I've been going on with me watching the movies still. I'm basically watching the Best Picture nominations from every year, so I think I'm on the last year's one now, so I've kind of a bit of the way through Coda, which was the Best Picture winner of 2022, was it? Maybe or 2021, I can't remember what year I'm on now. But yeah, I'm on that. And then I'm kind of doing a summer thing with TV shows. I'm watching the IMDb's top 250 TV shows. So I'm going to work my way through all the ones that I would either want to watch or have watched before. Like, I'm not going to watch any ones that I'm like I think Downtown Abbey's on there where I'm never going to enjoy that, so I'm not going to watch it. But
it might be really good.
It might be, like, to be fair, Kiera likes it, so maybe I would watch it with her. But like, I'm not gonna probably not gonna watch all 250 of them. But like, I'll work through them and watch the ones that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So I start off kind of watching. I'm gonna have like a documentary one and like an actual like either drama or comedy or something like on the go at the same time. So I'm watching the Planet Earth by David Attenborough. That's the first one. He's the narrator in it. And I'm also watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you remember that from way back.
Is that really good? Because it's one I never watched it at the time. It was about when we were like the sort of right age for it, but
yeah.
I never
me and Michael
somehow missed it.
Me and Michael watched it. I didn't remember like loving it or anything, but you know what? I'm watching it now, and even though it's kind of like aimed at maybe kids or whatever, I still quite enjoy it. Like, it's quite good. It's good action, good animation scenes and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd recommend it, and it's like way up there too. I think it's like in the top 10. And there's only 3 seasons of it too, so it's like easy enough to smash through it.
Really?
But, yeah,
I thought there was like hundreds and hundreds of episodes of that.
No, it's 3 seasons, 20 episodes a season. Each episode's about 20 minutes. So.
Wow.
But yeah, doing that at the minute, so that's my watching. Audiobook wise, I've been listening to a few. I have about 6 on the go at any one time, usually all on different things. So I've been listening to Helter Skelter, so with the Charles Manson murders. So that's like 26 hours or something like that, so it's going to take ages to get through that. And like the chapters, there's only like 7 chapters, so each of the chapters are like 2 or 3 hours long. Because like the chapters, it's because it's obviously a true story kind of one. It's like the chapters are like the first chapter's about the murders, and then like, you know, the next one's like the investigation into this person or whatever. But yeah, that's a good kind of crime one of the Manson murders. I heard there's one called Chaos as well, which is supposed to be even better, and like actually got more true things in it as well. So that might be the next one they read after that or listen to. And still continuing with Game of Thrones as well. I'm on Dance with Dragons again. I think it's about 45 hours in total when you start. I think I've got 38 hours left, so I made a small dent on it.
I'm catching you on that one. That's good.
I'm only reading about 1 chapter a week, to be fair, because I'm reading so many other things.
Yeah.
There's a book I literally just started reading today, and honestly, I'm absolutely loving it already. So this is one I'm actually reading. So there's a site called O'Reilly, and it's basically a load of mostly I use it for programming books and stuff, but there's loads of things on there. Like, there's things about architecture, like mathematics, physics, gardening, freaking everything. Like, there's covers a lot of topics, but there's loads of programming books. But it's a book called Strange Code, and it's about like esoteric programming languages. So it's about like those are like programming languages which aren't really used for proper work or anything, but they're just interesting. Like, there's one called
Mindfuck.
Yeah, there's one called Bodyfuck, and basically use a webcam to write code by the movements of your body. So it's like all weird language, it's like that. And there's one where there's like pictures, like, or colours. It's just blocks of colours. So it's like if it sees a red, that means do this operation, or if it sees green, do this. It's just like all these mad programming languages. But it's honestly, it's so, I've only read a wee bit of it so far, but geez, it's such a good programming book. If you're Stephen, you might be interested in it. But Strange Code it's called.
Good. Just sorry, just on that, there was a tweet thread I seen earlier on where it was like basically like UI designers competing to see who could develop the worst UI. It was quite funny.
Oh yeah.
It was like volume bars that when you scroll it the whole way it like falls off and like bounces around the screen and everything. Stuff like that. I thought that was quite funny.
That was funny. But yeah, that's kind of much it on the watching side. Yeah, that's more or less everything.
Cool. You reminded me of something else that I was watching. I talked about it last episode, was Dragon Ball from the start. I got about 60 episodes in, and I don't have the discs for that season, so I'm gonna buy. That's the only one I'm missing for some reason. So I'm gonna. Oh, nice. Gonna order that shortly.
That's on the IMDb top 250, so I will get there eventually.
It's great, man. It's like if you've never seen it before, it's I know you've seen Z, and it's like it's more like an adventure rather than just pure battle, you know. So it's a nice one to have in the background, and it's really wholesome and everything. But I got 60 episodes in, and then I was like, I don't have the discs for season 3, so I'm gonna order that shortly and finish that off. Okay, so yeah, I guess move on to plugs.
Yeah, so I wrote a few more chapters of my serial, Shadow Sisters. I want to give a wee shout out to Abigail, who is always like the first person to vote on my chapters as soon as I publish them. It's like, 20 minutes later. So it's like, it's nice to know that somebody's waiting that soon to like just get it. I'm still working, like, writing the next episode of the Dark Tales. It is, like, sadly about 4 times bigger than the standard episode already. So, and I'm still not finished. So, don't know how long that's going to drag on. And I started my another podcast for my book Soulbonder. I just me reading it out. So, the first 2 chapters are out there. I initially recorded them. And then I sort of was like, I think I could do that narration a bit better. So I practiced the narration before I did it for a while, and then I redid it, and it was a lot sharper. So I'm going to start, before I do things, I'm going to start practicing for a few days and then narrate, because that seems to give a better end result. So I'll probably go back some stage when I have time and re-record my episodes of the Dark Tales too by practicing first. But yeah, the book Soulbonder, anyway, it's a young adult fantasy. I wrote it like in my sort of late 20s, mid to late 20s, sort of going through a bit of writer's block and maybe a bit of like depression. But so, and it's weird that I was going through that sort of, and I wrote this like young adult book. And now that I'm feeling okay, I like write these dark horror stories. So that's like a weird thing, but like I found this like very cathartic to write, and it's kind of it was me learning to write as well, like a longer book. So there is clunky parts now that I reread it. It's like I wish I had have handled exposition better here, or this bit's a bit puffed out and everything. But overall, I really like the book, and I'm really proud of it. And I think there's a lot of good in it as well. And I think I handle like foreshadowing and the climax and tying plot threads together really well. And I really like the characters still. So I think there is clunky things to it and everything that I wish maybe one day I could go back and improve or something. But yeah, I'm still really happy with the story as well. So I'm gonna use it as practice for my narration and put episodes about that out week to week.
Sweet. Yeah, I have actually listened to the first chapter. I think I read the first few chapters. Again, I've said this before, I do struggle to actually read things, unless it's like a technical book. So I'm better with audiobooks. So now you're releasing it like this, I'm a lot more excited now. And I remember I've listened now to the first chapter, and I remember after I read the first few chapters, like, God, like, was this Michael wrote this? Like, is this crazy? Because I thought it was quite good so far. Like, so definitely the start now. So no, I'm looking forward to hearing more episodes of that. Yeah, so myself, I think on the last one I did mention about the new YouTube series I was doing for my YouTube channel was the Deep Sea Dive. So I think the first 3 episodes now are out. I'm releasing one a week on Fridays. I've actually got the whole series done. I'm just kind of trying to spread out when they release because I want to work on the next thing so it's ready to go by the end of it. But yeah, it just covers the some of the aspects of the C programming language and kind of looks a bit more deep behind the covers of the first ones focus on the C type standard library. So just kind of like the library functions and stuff and actually seeing how they work behind the scenes and stuff like that. So it's kind of more just a technical breakdown of the language. But yeah, like I've got so many ideas of so many different series I want to do and like programming side of things, but so little time. But hopefully I'll have more things to talk about as well in the future. I'm sure you're the same, Michael, with your book projects.
I think that's the worst thing when you start creating. It's not you're no longer in a place where you're struggling to come up with ideas. It's you have too many ideas and just not enough. Yeah, it's like a dam, like the dam bursts kind of. And
yeah,
well, I've got them written down anyway, so I'll be able to work on things for a while, and I'll keep me going.
Like I remember when I was first learning about writing, I heard Brandon Sanderson say he'll never have enough time to write all the books that he wants to. And I thought, I'm never going to have that problem. And now, when you start, then you realize that is the problem every writer has when they get into it.
Look at George Martin,
for that matter. Yeah.
No, Johnny, I watched the latest episode, the Is Digit one, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, so they're only wee short episodes, which I'm going to try and the target is to keep them under 5 minutes. And it's just going to be like a very quick one on each, and then I'll go over each function, the whole library, and then there'll be like a final episode then to kind of like round everything up and kind of put it all together and stuff. And then I'm not like going to be limited to like just doing those standard libraries or anything like that. I might try and build my own stuff, but I have created quite an interesting concept where I'm going to like build everything from scratch, and like I'm not allowed to like use something that I haven't already created. So like you would. Like you have basically a programming language has its primitives, which is what comes with the language. That's like all it's like built-in stuff, and then it has libraries, which is like stuff that other coders wrote and like provide to you, and you can like download online and stuff. But like I'm only going to start with the primitives and then build up the libraries that other people have wrote. Just myself, just to like that's how you're going to look into the actual in-depth look at them.
Yeah.
And then I'm only allowed to use stuff that I've already created, so I can't have to go. I can't use a function that I haven't talked about yet, even though it's provided in some other library. So I kind of build up the standard library.
It's a really good idea. I think that's probably the best way to learn, to be honest.
Yeah. So it's I'm hoping myself to learn a lot from it as well. But that's the main thing I've been working on at the moment.
I suppose. Okay, I'll hand it over now.
Okay, so funny enough, this pick, Michael, you actually mentioned there in your What Else Are We Consuming?
Oh, really?
Well, you just kind of glanced on it there by saying it was like one of the books that you said you read.
Oh.
So my recommendation is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, finally.
Douglas Adams. So that's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and that's read by Stephen Fry.
Right, so we've all listened to it already.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Do you want to have a guess of what it's about?
So I think... No.
Yeah. I don't think much has to be said about it now. We can wait until the next episode.
No, there's, yeah.
The good thing
Leave
about
it off for the next episode.
I've been waiting for an excuse to re-listen to this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this book.
Yeah, 5 hours and 51 minutes at normal speed, so I'll probably get it done in about 4 hours. So should be a quick one, which is good. And like if I said this to Michael, I don't have that many books that I've read before. I think I've only read about 60, and that's not even just books. That's like there's like lectures and stuff in there too, in that courses thing I was talking about ages ago. So obviously we only get the credit like once a month, so I usually pick something that I've already read, and then I'll alternate then to something that I haven't read but want to read. So this is something that obviously I've already read, so that's kind of the way I do my picking.
Yeah.
And Jason, you seem to not want to listen to this, is there? you just hate. You can only talk about it in the next one. I guess.
I'll wait till next
that makes
time.
me more. That makes me more excited to review it.
I know.
I remember a certain Stephen Talmage who listened to it. I finally cracked and listened to it, and we'll talk about it more next time.
Yeah.
Happy days. So that rounds us out perfectly. So thanks for listening. That'll be us for this episode, and join us next time where we'll be talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, narrated by Stephen Fry. Thank you.
See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.